skin dealer with the busted grill, floating through the market with the iron wheel. Junkyard king with a crooked smile, got a slave or a speeder for every mile. Ain't no credits, I take Republic chips, or maybe your freedom with a flip of my lips. I don't play fair, I don't play nice, but I run Mozeppa like a roll of dice.
He got wings like an angel, heart like a crook, selling dreams in the shade with that hustler look. Watto's world, where the deals get done. A boss in the sand under twin suns.
Got a boy named Anakin, building pods for speed. He don't know it yet, but I'm planting seeds. The Jedi came through trying to test my vibe, but I ain't weak-minded, I survive. From spare parts.
Hello, hello, hello. How is everybody doing today?
Well, we're back at it again.
So, guys, possibly a little change of plans tonight. We weren't able to get up with Roger. I don't know if something came up or something, but if he joins us. But we decided to go ahead and go live and go ahead and just kind of talk to you guys, hang out, have a nice little fun Friday night for a little bit. How are you, gentlemen?
I'm tired.
I feel it.
Aren't we all?
But yeah, any new pickups for anybody? Any nice things? No, we're all too broke.
I got some pickups.
Let's see it.
I got some pickups. We got a couple slabbies here.
Ooh.
Fuck. Little Grievo Throwback Thursday slab.
Dig it.
This will be in the pull box at some point here.
He will be trained.
Yeah. Yep. And then Grand Moff Wilhelm Heidenberg Toff Turkin.
How's it going, Ryan?
Got a good old fat stack of cards here.
Look at all those cards.
Sketch. Big old Chungus head. I did get this $2.99 Thrawn.
Oh shit!
Pretty sick. Other than that, just art supplies, man. Stay tuned. You know, wifey and I are cooking some stuff up.
Awesome. And how's it going, JT? We don't know if Roger's going to join us or not tonight. Currently MIA, but no big deal. If he joins us. If not, we'll get him on again. But we're just chilling.
Technical difficulties.
A little bit. I got this. I'm going to do a video where I open it. It is my Ryan Finley sketch card. No.
Open it. Open it with your teeth. With the F. Teeth. Also, mission fully accomplished. Wifey has finished all of the Hobbit movies.
Oh, nice.
Got her hooked, bro. Like,
she enjoyed them?
Yeah, it's been a little bit more of a struggle with the Star Wars stuff, just like languages stuff wise. But the Hobbit, bro. The past couple days, she's like, "Can we finish the Hobbit?" I'm like, "Yeah, we can." What? It's like I was joking with you the other day. I was like, I already got your ring. Like, you don't have to bullshit. But yeah, she's hooked. She's hooked, and she wanted to start Lord of the Rings today. And I was like, listen, we just watched 5 hours of peak cinema. I want you to marinate in that for a little bit, okay?
Yeah, that's hard to do in a whole setting in Lord of the Rings because there's
I've done
they're
it.
great movies, but man, like the pacing.
I did a Hobbit extended through Lord of the Rings extended in one day.
I did that. I got through. I didn't finish Two Towers or Return of the King. But one day I was visiting my sister down in Florida, and I just had a random I want to watch Lord of the Rings, and I watched the theatrical versions. Went back and watched the Hobbits, and then went and watched the extended version of the Hobbits, and then got halfway through Two Towers. I was like, I gotta quit,
Bro.
I fucking, it was too much. I fucking overdid it.
I had never seen the Battle of the Five Kingdoms extended edition. So they I think one of the parts that they did extend in that was the fight scene with Elrond, Galadriel, Saruman, and Gandalf when they're fighting the Witch Kings of Angmar, and Sauron's there. Bro, that fight scene, oh my god. And listen, before we get hate for Lord of the Rings, all I'm saying is 3 movies, 30 nominations, 17 Oscars, and Star Wars has 9 movies, 21 nominations, and 10 wins. That's all I'm gonna say.
Hey, I mean, I can't fight facts there.
All I'm gonna say. Also, the Hobbit prequels got 7 more nominations. So,
oh Jesus,
37, 20 something. All I'm saying.
But also at the same time, look at some of the movies that have won Oscars.
Hey, we're talking. No, but here's the thing: you want to make that argument. Those are all kind of in that same period. The prequels,
True,
got what? Less than 10 nominations, no wins. 3 Lord of the Rings movies had 30 nominations and won 17.
Oh, I'm not doubting it. Lord of the Rings is far more prestige than Star Wars, but I'm just saying I never take the Oscars seriously as a metric because I hate the Oscars.
Back then, I think it was a lot more credible. Now it's fucking awful. It's
it's way off now. Yeah.
We've got a movie about a genderless amoeba. 17 Oscars.
Go through some chat here.
Thank you. Finally, somebody in the chat agrees. We don't have to sit here and fucking argue with Swooner for 20 minutes.
It's like you're going to win here. Everybody loves you on the Lord of the Rings stuff, so no
What up, Chris?
disrespect for Lord of the Rings here.
How's
it going, Chris?
I've been on.
See, and the thing is, I personally not huge in Lord of the Rings, but at the same time,
okay,
I can't hate it. I can't hate it because it's amazing what they did. It's just because honestly, it's the fantasy genre. It's not even Lord of the Rings. It's just I'm not into the dragons.
Right, you'd rather watch Mary Poppins spacewalk on a spaceship.
Exactly. See, okay, space fantasy, fine, because I know Star Wars is not sci-fi; it's fantasy, but still can't do the dragons, can't do the dungeons, can't do the knights.
But you watch Rey pretend to be a Skywalker for 3 movies. Crazy.
Yes,
dragons are real, man.
Oh god, now you sound like my old coworker. She believed giants were real.
I mean,
no, okay. Fantastic story. So she was batshit insane. She believed the craziest conspiracies known to man. And I decided to just see how far down this rabbit hole she would go. So one day I was like, she was telling me something nuts.
I feel like we need to have Louis
crazy
out here for this chat.
And then I was like, okay, so did you hear about what they found in Kansas? And she's like, no. And I was like, 1939, a rocket crash landed in Kansas, and there were eyewitnesses that said they saw them take a baby from it. And she's like, are you serious? Like, dead serious. And it's like, oh, and on top of that,
piece of shit.
On top of that, there's also this school. There's this school up north in northern New York where they have kids that are walking weapons. I know. Scary.
They've got some of those in Baltimore.
One dude could totally make claws come out of his hands. She bought it hook, line, sinker. You know, she went home that day and talked to her crazy husband saying, oh my God, we got to move.
Well, here's the thing too, is like you mentioned giants. There's actually in what's left of a lot of Native American texts, there are stories about like massive human-esque creatures that used
Well, all mythology there. I mean, Greek, they all have the giants.
Yeah, but the
They
Native
existed
Americans
everything.
weren't like messing with their cousins.
That too.
So.
No, they were just doing peyote and
Hey.
tripping balls.
Hey,
Don't knock it till you try
when you
it.
do drugs, things become clearer. That's all I'm gonna say. I mean, when I do drugs, I like nerd. So
And okay, so how do you guys feel about Spaceballs 2? That announcement.
we'll see. I mean, it's like, bro,
It's gonna be
they're
stupid.
so
I already
fucking
know that.
old too. Like,
I'm holding out hope. Like, I love the first one. I love Rick Moranis. I'm kind of glad he's back. Like,
I mean, I love them, but it's just like, bro, if we're gonna do them, I want them to be good. Because if we do another one and it fucking sucks, it'll make
That's
the whole
true.
thing not worth it. You know.
It'll honestly. I don't know about your feeling about this movie, but the second Boondock Saints movie.
I think it could have been better, but at the time that they had made that movie, there was a third in the works. So you can't really be too harsh on Boondock Saints 2 because there was setting up for a third, and now we're not.
See, for me though, I didn't like it so much. I feel like it diluted how amazing the first one was to me.
Not a chance, no.
Oh, to me it was.
Because you could watch the first Boondock Saints and not even know there's a second one, and you know what I'm saying?
That's true, but if you do know, you can't unknow. Now, if I didn't know that movie existed, Boondock Saints 1, perfect standalone movie.
I think they're both
It's
great.
a masterpiece
I think they're
of
both
action cinema.
I think they're both great. It's a continuation of one of the greatest movies of all time.
I'm always weird about sequels.
Except for The Acolyte, you wanted season 2.
Oh, God, please bring it back. I can't wait for them to ruin Plagueis more for me. No, honestly, I really want to see them right themselves out of this freaking hole that they put themselves in with Yoda. I want to see the acrobatics that are performed there more than anything.
Yeah, it's gonna be. I don't know.
Like, if anything, I'm just like, show me how this is right. Like, go ahead and make this make sense to me.
Right, because it's like putting Ki-Adi-Mundi in there doesn't really matter to me as much because it's like he's kind of a bitch Jedi anyway.
Come on, guys, let's stop the separatists.
Yeah. But like having somewhat relative, I mean, I wouldn't say it's peak Yoda. I think this would be the equivalent of like a 60-year-old Yoda. You know, like for like normal human years, this Yoda in the Acolyte would still be like past his prime. I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's a little bit easier to explain rather than like if we're talking like Jedi Master Yoda and not Grandmaster Yoda, like when he first got in, you know.
Do we know, like, is he Grandmaster yet in this story or no?
I mean, everybody's fucking reporting to him.
It.
Everybody's reporting
he
to him.
is.
So.
Just assumed he'd been Grandmaster for like a long ass time. Like,
Well, he fucking lives to what, like 8 billion years old?
This show's only like fucking 80 something years before the Phantom Menace. So
yeah.
Even though they want to say,
yeah.
oh, it's 100 years. No, bro, they contradicted themselves by saying before the rise of the Empire.
He died at 900 years, allegedly.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
like if you look at it right now, Grogu's 50, allegedly.
Ages like get so screwed up with legends, like because like I've been writing like this Star Wars story, and like I have a younger Qui-Gon, and Qui-Gon's age flips. Like he's apparently 70 years old when he dies. Yeah. He is spry for a 70-year-old.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was born in like 97 BBY. So technically, Qui-Gon is alive when Acolyte's going on, if they're adhering to the same like timeline.
Yeah, I just realized I muted my mic so I could type. Yeah, it's timelines are interesting, and that's one of those reasons why I'm not buying that like Star Wars timelines book, because it's all arbitrary.
They're going to change it.
Yeah.
And honestly, if nobody is paying attention to the canon at any point, anything could just thrown out the window.
Well, that's the thing, is like there's some of us that are super hard. It's almost like politics. There's people who are absolutists on canon, and there's some people who like myself. I'm a big Mandalorian guy, so it's like majority of what I like is in Legends. It's not in canon.
And I'm the same. Yeah.
And then there's people who are relatively new to Star Wars. They don't even know what the fuck canon means. So, and that's the great thing about this IP is like you've got all different levels of fans, all different levels of this stuff. There's levels to this shit, man. It's like an onion.
Yeah, because like honestly, it took so many things of like the old stuff to like get my kid into Star Wars. Like she loves Mandalorian. She liked Obi-Wan because she loved Lil Leia.
Yeah.
And she likes Ahsoka because she likes Ahsoka. Clone Wars was the first thing because I was able to transition Ahsoka into that. But like, once she got watching Clone Wars, she hadn't seen Episode 3 yet. She got to see Episode 3 first time in theaters. So she was insanely upset to find out what Anakin turns into.
Just wait till she sees what the Jedi Order did to Ahsoka. What the fuck, Dad?
Why'd you let me like this character? She's already seen the episode. She didn't process like that Ahsoka got screwed over by the Jedi Council.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah, she's definitely into a lot of the newer stuff, but I think that's just because her classmates and stuff, when they talk about Star Wars, none of them are talking about Luke. Like,
uncultured little shit.
They're all talking about Kylo Ren. They're all talking about Rey. They're all talking about Ahsoka. Like, that's what the kids talk about.
Like, we should get Hayden in there as a substitute teacher real quick. Mr. Christensen, we were just talking about Kylo Ren.
My daughters are like, hey guys, I'm gonna call him Master Skywalker. Watch this.
Master Skywalker. Daughters just
Have you guys ever seen those deep fake videos where this like comedian like makes himself Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon and like young Anakin sitting around watching stuff?
Yes, bro. I fucking love that guy.
I love it anytime they show like kids on the screen. Anakin just sitting.
It's like those videos when your team loses and then they show the guy playing like FIFA or whatever it is, and it's like 800 to 0, and he's like.
There was the one where they're watching like Revenge of the Sith, and then they're like, "Oh God, where's Anakin?" And then you say like, "There's a school nearby." And they show him like running with his lightsaber outside. Yes, Charlie Hopkins, hilarious dude. Love his videos. Qui-Gon is fantastic. I love how they just made Qui-Gon in this. He's basically the dude.
Back, bro.
They essentially just made him the dude from like Big Lebowski. And my wife's like watching with him. She's like, how does this guy not weigh like 300 pounds from all like the food that he just casually eats through all these videos? But yeah, I was watching I didn't even think about it like when I watched the show until I was watching the other thing when they were watching like Obi-Wan and how little Leia makes no effort whatsoever to jump across that edge. She basically just runs off the edge of the building. He's like, oh my god, she's a freaking lemming.
Literally. Oh, crazy, crazy times. Let's see what else. Oh, did not mean to do that. What the fuck? Just copied and pasted something.
Wait, Luthen's in what? Did they move Luthen over to something else?
Oh, I know what Luthen's in. One of the most boring shows I've ever fucking watched. Up until he fucking gets exploded in a goddamn hospital.
Poor Luthen.
Last three
I knew he was
episodes,
I knew he was going to die, but jeez.
fucking last 3 episodes of Andor were fucking peak though. I can't lie. They roped me in with them last 3.
It's
To
the
make up
hard
for
thing.
the other fucking ones.
It's the hard thing of making a TV show versus a movie is like they have to spend so long building, and you have to wait so long for the payoff to finally happen. Where in the movie, you just wait like an hour and a half and you get to your payoff. But like, I get it. It's just like I understand like both sides on that one because that like it took forever. Like both seasons, they had very slow paces through like the beginning of the series. Both ended like fantastically, but it just getting there was like not as fun.
I just found the most cringe article of my entire life.
Oh god.
It's slashfilm.com. They ranked all 12 Star Wars movies. But
They put Last Jedi first.
But for some reason, the Clone Wars animated series is ranked 11. I didn't know that was a movie.
Like the
There's a movie.
Bro, I'll screen
they
share right now.
probably use the
Pull it up.
fucking
Pull it up.
What did they also rank the Clone Wars movie?
Yeah.
That's weird.
So here, we'll explore this together.
Okay. Hey, send that back to me again. It popped away.
Crazy rookie.
I know, it's being stupid. I literally, as soon as I brought the mouse up to it, it disappeared.
You're just a fucking
So look at this pure idiocracy. Ready? All 12 Star Wars movies ranked from worst to best.
Okay.
This is-
Including a TV show, too, apparently.
apparently, yeah, the one TV show that they threw in. I think we can agree on that one.
yeah.
I'd probably put Last Jedi lower.
Brother, what? First off,
No, that's from whenever he meets Ahsoka. So that's definitely the movie.
That's the Clone Wars
No.
movie. But that's not.
It even says it right
11.
there. The Clone Wars was the first feature-length animated film. to come out.
oh, yeah, you guys shut me up. Okay, yeah. I still don't think that goes here.
No, absolutely not. That wasn't a bad movie.
No.
Hey, take fucking the comments down.
Whoa, where is? There's a movie that has not been mentioned yet. I'm surprised we have not mentioned it yet.
What? Are we we're joking, right?
Cameron, take the
We're
comments
joking,
down.
right?
Oh yeah, sorry.
We're joking. We're joking on this, right? Okay.
What? Well, wait. Okay, I have to know where is Last Jedi on this
Keep
list.
going. We gotta keep going.
No,
This is blasphemy. I will not stand for this list.
that's insane.
You ready?
Still not there.
Force Awakens is better than the. These guys are smoking fucking crackers. So, dude, they're with
This
that
was
dude
written
that
to
was
piss people off. This was written to troll. There's no fucking way they're being serious.
Something crazy.
That no.
Where is the Last Jedi?
Shut it down.
Oh, wait, there's more.
God damn it! What the hell are you talking about?
This is gotta be
Over. I love Rogue One. Over
Rogue One's my
Revenge of the
favorite movie.
fucking Sith is
That's
crazy.
nuts.
Oh my fucking god! I mean, I don't disagree.
Who wrote this?
On my list.
I mean, it'd be fourth on my
Honestly.
list, but just wait till you see what's above it.
Oh Jesus fuck! All right, we're here. Fuck! Oh!
3 movie of all time, guys.
I want to see this description.
There it is in all its glory.
Look, not everyone,
Sitting on the bronze pedestal.
not everyone
Star
may
Wars
agree
movies.
with The Last Jedi turning up
Not everyone, huh?
the list, but for our money, it can go toe to toe with the best that Star Wars has to offer.
I'm sure it is for your money. How much did they fucking pay you?
But it keeps going. Look at this. Rather than warming up a recycled narrative from an earlier Star Wars film, it represents a natural progression of the franchise with the nuanced, mature take on the characters we all know and love.
Even the characters that we know and love didn't like being in that movie.
Perhaps in the end, that's why so many within the Star Wars fan community maligned The Last Jedi as a failure. They weren't interested in seeing their childhood hero Luke Skywalker made bitter and disillusioned by the failures of his career as a Jedi. Huh?
No shit! Of course I wasn't interested in that.
That's why it's down!
But Legends told him better.
Even if his character arc ultimately shows him returning to form in one of the best fight sequences Star Wars has ever produced. What fight sequence? The one where he
You
got
mean
blasted
one where he
to
wasn't
bits
there?
by a fucking ship? What?
You
But
mean the one
beyond
where
that-
Kylo Ren fought a hologram, essentially?
More! But beyond that, we see all the characters learn and grow.
They all took 5 steps backwards in that movie.
What did they learn?
Every character.
A process that takes them in directions that audiences may not necessarily expect. Really? This is shown especially vividly in the relationship between Rey and Kylo. Who struggle with the inexplicable connection that binds them together. Because you can't explain dumbassery.
Because they forced it. There was nothing about that in The Force Awakens. And then all of a sudden, they just ham-fisted that into you in the second one.
Banger statement here. The Last Jedi may have a vocal community of critics, but it's arguably the boldest modern Star Wars outing. One that isn't content to coast on nostalgia, but actually has something new to say.
I need to see this writer's credentials.
What the fuck? What did it have to say that was new? That failure is a lesson?
I'm Paul. Hi, I'm Paul.
Bro, okay. They want to say that failure was the fucking lesson and shit in this. Bro, Empire. That whole movie was the biggest failure for the fucking rebellion. We don't need it again.
Yes.
The fact that this is number 2 as well. But then wait, they got something right.
I could deal with that.
I could deal with that because for me
it's not redeeming because like 95% of all Star Wars lists have Empire's number 1.
Yeah. So if anybody would like
that's
to
insane. I can't believe
that
that.
makes sense. That makes sense. Audrey is a Rotten Tomatoes approved film critic. Yep. Credentials gone. She's got a master's degree in international relations at Harvard. Wow. And you're still dumb as shit.
See, whatever. If you like it, you like it, fine. But
see,
I don't understand it. I won't be able to ever understand that because all of a reasoning, I didn't get it.
It sucks because I'm trying to take on the mindset of
I
like,
opened another one of her articles.
Like the bad shit's just not for me. But then I see fucking dumbass takes like this, and it's so hard for me to just not crack.
I'm gonna be real with you. It's not just
it's a hot take.
It's not just that she doesn't know Star Wars. She doesn't know anything. 15 best war TV shows of all time ranked. I'll just read the list and save you time. You ready? X Company is 15. Turn Washington Spies is 14. Pillars of the Earth 13. Alo Alo is 12. Das Boot is 11. The World at War is 10. World on Fire is 9. Generation War is 8. That's fucking insane. Sharp is 7. Generation Kill is 6. North and South is 5. The Pacific is 4. Hogan's Heroes is 3. Band of Brothers is 2. And number 1 is MASH.
What is she, fucking 80?
See, that's the thing. I don't know what time period she belongs to. Because, like, you see something like the Star Wars thing, like, okay, she's like a new fan. Like, maybe she's just, like, seeing Star Wars for the first time, so the older stuff doesn't have impact. Fine.
What I'm saying is...
But then you see that, and then, like, MASH had that kind of impact on you, though, too.
But she likes MASH, but gives Return of the Jedi the... What?
Well, and ranking like Rogue One so low, like Rogue One is a war movie. Like it's basically like let's make like Saving Private Ryan but in space.
I bet you could count on your hands and your fingers and your toes the amount of times they actually showed any war footage or actual battle depiction in the show MASH. And that show was like 30 years. It was like
because it
was like fucking nurse battlefield medic drama.
90% of that show took place in a tent, and it bounced between being a drama and being a comedy because Alan Alda couldn't decide what he wanted to do with his life.
But in front of like I'll give you your props. It was long running and it had a lot of big fan base. But over Band of Brothers.
Yeah, because Band of Brothers just does it way better. Like it just,
and then if you got a Band of Brothers up there, the Pacific, I would argue that the Pacific in some ways is better than Band of Brothers.
The Pacific is damn good.
Insane.
Yeah, that's.
Triggered. She's definitely a rage baiter.
I feel like that's what it is. Like I feel like there's just no way. Like. Like even like I could give somebody maybe throwing Last Jedi in the middle of the list because like maybe you just like new Star Wars, but that high, that just seems like you're just trying to like get people like riled up at that point.
But even if it's like if you like new Star Wars,
throwing Revenge that low, like
and Phantom.
I know, like there's so many that just seems like these seems like choices that you made to put here.
Attack of the Clones was like fucking 13. It's not that bad. No love for Jango.
Well,
crazy.
Well, and that's the thing too. Like, how could you like Last Jedi so much, but then also hate The Rise of Skywalker so much?
Mm-hmm. I'm just gonna say it
because The Rise of Skywalker undid what The Last Jedi did.
I mean, I like it better than Last Jedi. So.
You ask how the hell could that person like Last Jedi so much but hate Rise of Skywalker? It's because
yeah. And honestly, the only reason why I even like it just because Ian McDermott's in it, and that's about it.
Fair.
They forced him up there. You could tell he just took some money, but still, I was glad to see him back. Yeah. And it's like there's so many things out there where they'll show like people show their like fan posters of like what the sequel trilogy would be, and like you see them and just get sad because you see like pictures of Jedi Luke and like a Republic Han like captain like together. Like we could have had this.
Literally.
Like I get it. You want to move on to new characters. That's perfectly fine. But I mean, I just feel like they didn't do anything for the classic ones. Like. The fact that we never got at least one scene with all the cast in it, like just at least one, like the fact they just didn't even do it.
Yeah.
Like It just seems like you kind of go out of your way to do it at that
Bro,
point.
they filmed a scene of Luke reacting to Han's death and cut it from the fucking movie.
Yep.
The closest we got was literal holograms, like with Luke at the end with at the
Swinner,
Battle of
is
Crete.
there a dog fight happening at your house?
No, that's in my house.
Oh. Yo, Michael Vick's over at Kybra's house right now.
My mother-in-law has these stupid German shepherds that I can't stand, and
I love German
anytime she gets home, they lose their shit upstairs.
German
So
Never
that's what
talk
they're doing
about
right
my
now.
ancestral family like that, okay? Those are good and loyal dogs.
I got ruined on dogs as a kid because my sister would constantly be the kid that would be, bitch and complain about not getting a dog, and then would get a dog, and then I was the one doing all the chores for said dog. So then I became a cat person because they kind of just take care of themselves.
World's smallest dog.
And now that a little robot exists, I really have no downs of owning one of those things.
You must not have gotten your cats from where Tony got his from, bro.
Okay, those ones.
Sylvia Goose
his-
are fucking menaces, bro.
His cats secretly hate his career. Guys, Roger's here.
Hey.
Okay, get yourselves all professional, all right?
Hang
I'm one
on.
in the force and the
I
force is
just
one with me.
got into the house.
How you doing, sir? Welcome.
Thank you. Sorry, I've had emergency.
Oh, no problem at all. We assumed
hang
something came up, so no worries.
Hang on a bit.
You are perfectly fine, sir.
I was hoping you'd
Yep, take your time.
Oh,
Yep.
we're here.
2 seconds.
You're good. Take your time.
Yeah, they love to go wild when she gets home, so they're cool now.
I mean, it sounded like you had like a dog fight
I
going
know.
on in the back of your
They go nuts. They run all over the house and stuff. Like you act like they've never seen her again.
I
They
thought,
saw her just 5 hours ago.
I thought you had a pack of wargs running around in your house looking for hobbits.
That's what it sounds like. It literally sounds like there's a herd of them, but there's only 2.
That sounded like 4 dogs, bro.
It does. They're big.
Oh man.
Whew.
This is the downside of having bigger dogs too, you know.
I just literally ran in.
Oh, no worries. Yeah, we were just kind of hanging out.
Yeah, we just read a very interesting article on the rankings of the 12 Star Wars movies.
We were having a good list at their order, having a good laugh at their order on the list.
Oh. Hi, there, I'm back. Sorry about this.
All right, great. So welcome, sir. Glad to have
Thank
you on
you.
tonight.
Oh. Now the sound's gone. Hang on. There we are. Okay.
Awesome.
now I can settle down. Sorry about this.
No worries.
It was an emergency. I just literally ran in the house.
No problem. Yeah, we're glad to have you on. It's awesome. Yeah, we were. Let's see. Me and Nerd about all seen your movie and everything.
Yes.
It's wonderful flick. Like if you enjoy, especially like A New Hope, like it gives you so many amazing stories of that movie. Like I loved all of those 3D like recreations that they used with like the Macquarie art, and they were able to like expand it out into like a 3D space. That was really cool looking. Like it's an awesome movie, and honestly, I just gotta say, like it's gotta be like awesome hearing like all these like modern like major like filmmakers just making sure that they give you your props just for everything you've really done just for Star Wars and like movies in general.
Yeah, it was. Well, I had to write the book because unfortunately I'm the only person with all of these stories because I was at the front of it all, and John Barry did the sets. I was given this whole job of creating everything, props and all of the rest, and involved in everything. And there's no one else to tell the story. Nobody. So I kind of had a duty. And then once I got the book done, but then I got private finance. I couldn't get it financed, and managed to have now got it made and divided up. And at some point, I will be able to get it onto a streamer, but it's going to take a bit of time. There's a few obstacles in the way, but I had to be very careful. Obviously, I'm sanctioned by Lucasfilm to do whatever I want. They regard me as a gatekeeper, so I'm okay with that. And I couldn't get clips. Actually, when we were doing it, I tried 20th Century Fox because they owned it then when we were first doing it, but they wanted like $250,000 for 6 clips, and that would have been the budget gone. And I realized looking at it, like George, if you watch the movie, when Alec Guinness goes to that trunk and takes out the lightsaber and gives it to him, it was never pointed out. You hardly see it. It just went, and it's just a lightsaber because George made Star Wars like a documentary. So it didn't really illustrate what I was trying to say. I had the same experience with nearly all the clips that I'd wanted to use. So at the end, I thought, you know what, I found a company through the American financier, and we did very high generation then animation, and I just designed sequences to go with it, better illustrate, I think. And they were fun to do, you know. I mean, I was reinventing the wheel again because we have so little money, and a lot of this during COVID, my editor and I were locked in an editing room for an entire year. There was only restrictions on who could be anywhere, but the top post house here, friends of mine own it, so they gave me an office, and we were under the number of people allowed into the building during the day. So he and I were ensconced for a year trying to figure all this out. And it was, I mean, just, you know, it's the way people are, especially with Star Wars. When you take Guillermo, he was making Nightmare Alley, and he really wanted to say some words about it. And so he said, look, I can meet you outside the Netflix stage at 8 o'clock in the morning. I'll have to be on my own because we weren't allowed people to be with you. You know, there was this whole business of COVID. So he said, can you do it with one camera? And I said, yeah, there's one cameraman who'll do the sound. He can come with me. And that was it. So there was only the 3 of us, literally. And I held the mic for him and he held the mic for me when we were talking. And then he recounted, you know, it's like gold. What I really wanted him to be in it because he's so erudite. And I think that it was very important to have him there because he was the real illustration of, you know, because I knew Jim Cameron. There's actually an example of an interview with him which I couldn't get, but he says the moment I saw Star Wars, I came out and I said, that's it, I got to be a director. I happened to meet Christopher Nolan here when Dunkirk was in Toronto, and I met him afterwards, and then he started questioning about Star Wars because he couldn't understand how I did it all on my own. And he's an avid collector. And I said, do you remember Star Wars when? He said, oh, don't tell me. At 11 years old, I was at this theater. I know the exact time when I saw it. And I came out and I wanted to be a film director. And then I found James Gunn. And everybody said the same thing. So kind of, I had at least there Guillermo to kind of illustrate that.
And honestly, like that whole Guillermo like thing, like that's interesting that it was like just it was necessity that like the way it was shot. It looks really like cool, like very intimate with like you guys just there on like the like I really liked how that part was shot. Like I didn't know that it was just because COVID was going on, you had to shoot that way.
Yeah, that was just the 2 of us talking, and that's how I wanted it anyway. And it's the same. And then Gareth Edwards was he was in prep on The Creator. And he said, no, I can do it. I can give it to you. So you give me the questions. And I gave him a whole bunch of questions, and we did it like that. So he sent that back in, and I used him to kind of break up the sequences as a kind of bookmark for me going through. Again, they're just so valuable. And Kyle is a mate of mine, Kyle Newman. And so, he's also Star Wars from being a kid was what mattered. But I wanted to, several things. One is, to me, whatever I did, Ralph McQuarrie is the unsung hero of Star Wars.
Absolutely.
He came with 6 paintings, was sent to us in London, and that's where Star Wars, I found my entire inspiration from those paintings. So I really wanted to give him a kind of homage, really, as part of the documentary. And Paul Bateman, who's a science fiction artist who lives in London, is a mate of mine. He has a long history. He revered, like most science fiction artists, Ralph McQuarrie. And in the early days, Ralph's website was terrible, and Paul kept bugging him. He got contact with him and saying, your website's bad. Can I please do it for you? I'm not charging you. I just want to do it. He wore him down. It took about 3 or 4 years because Ralph was very shy and very quiet. He wore him down and did it. And then they started to become friends. And then Paul said, also, I see the prints they release of your work isn't looking like your work. So Paul took all of that over. And then he was, for a long time, going around all of the big Star Wars events with Ralph McQuarrie's work. They had a booth and everything. So all those stories that he tells about Ralph McQuarrie, I mean, I could have filled this documentary with it. But again, I thought they were valuable to have. And then there's people who nobody in this world ever knew about. Bill Harmon, the carpenter, who built the wooden R2-D2 and the mock-up land speeder. And, without that wooden mock-up R2-D2 working, there wasn't Star Wars. It wasn't going to get made because they're the main storytellers, and there was no other way to do it. There was no CGI. The radio control wasn't working. How on earth were we going to do it? So Bill was pivotal in that, and also creating the very first rough mock-ups using wheelbarrow wheels and bits of wood to make the land speeders, things like that, And I think without ego or anything, I just wanted to show people this is what went on. This is how we made this film, because no one can quite believe it. But what in England we made it with string and sealing wax.
Yeah, like it's incredible. Just like watching the documentary, like you can read the book and everything and hear some of the stories, but to actually like get to see like some of this stuff like redone and kind of see like the things you guys went through to like really make this movie work, like it's mind-blowing that it even happened, and like the fact that it became like one of the biggest movies of all time, and it just everything worked out perfectly.
Yeah, it was for me, I mean, it was a whole kind of experience that I loved every minute of it, hard as it was. It doesn't matter, but I really liked George and I loved the script, and it was a chance to do something that how I thought science fiction films should look. A chance in a million, and I was determined to make it work, despite this fact when we got to England and found what the budget was, and it was enough to do a little art film, nothing more. But me being fairly stubborn, and I've been through quite a few different movies that we had very little money on, but they were really imaginative movies. So I'd already got practiced into how to do stuff. So I think it all came together at that point. And John Barry, bless him, just a genius, this man, a huge loss to the film industry when he died so young on Empire. And he George doesn't say much. He's not that emotional, as you know. He never says anything. But one day on Phantom Menace, when we were in prep, and I was walking across the stage with him in Leavesden Studios, and he stopped me and he said, "You know, Roger, I really miss John Barry." And for him to say that, it's like such a weighted statement. And I said, "I know, John, I miss him every day. George, I miss him every day." And he really made it possible for George to make that movie. And John and I, in particular, as the two creatives, stuck by George right the way through. We never let any of this crew nonsense and the arguments and the hatred against George and science fiction and all this stuff ever get to us. That's, you know, was part of this journey for me. And you know, I was kind of honored when they republished Cinema Alchemist in January, and they said, "We want to do new forwards and things like that." And they said, "We know George doesn't do anything anymore, but could you get somebody to do a forward so we can juice it up a bit?" We thought of Guillermo, actually. And then I thought, you know what, I've never asked George. So I just sent a note, and 3 weeks later, he said, "I really would be honored to do this." And he also put his name on the cover for me, gave me some blurbs. So
It's awesome.
it's a very heartfelt thank you, and it echoes the same words. You know, he was more kind of praising that we were still friends. So I think, you know, eventually, as you can see, I mean, this has to belong on Disney Plus one day, in amongst all the making
Hope so.
of, because it's a very part of the legacy of the whole Star Wars and making of it. So I just got to bide my time, and eventually I get it there.
Yeah. I think sorry to cut you off there, Kyber. I think it's really a shame, because even for like the people who love Star Wars and the works and stuff, it's like you'd never know these things. You know, I've been a fan for so long, and you know, I didn't start learning about all the nuances and intricacies of the filming process and all that until you know Kyber and these guys started talking to you, and I was like, wow, like it makes it that much more amazing for fans. It's like,
yes,
what you guys had to go through to get this done.
Yeah.
And just like skinning your teeth doing it, and then it turned out this amazing.
Yeah, and it's important, you know. I mean, whatever. There's never been a film like this, and there never will be again. The circumstances cannot happen again, and it's going to be studied in universities. I mean, already it's like everything is studied to the nth degree. So the actual groundwork of how this thing got made is the foundation of it all. You know, that's why I think this is important. It's nothing to do with, oh, look at me and how great I was. I don't ever say that. I just think that it's part of the building blocks of where it all came from. And nowadays kids see huge Hollywood movies, but it was a little ragtag group of cinema revolutionaries with no money who built it. And that in itself is the mentoring lesson that I wanted to give to people, as George does as well. And that's the story of Star Wars. It's a story of Luke Skywalker believing, you know, and somehow a mentor comes along and his destiny fulfills, and he fulfills it. So I think that those stories are there they're relating to every man, woman, child, whatever you are, dog, whatever, on the planet. So that's our journey. That's the hero's journey. So I think what I was hoping to get out of the documentary at the end of it, you think, wow, yeah, I could do that.
Yeah. And it's to see, like, honestly, like something that is so important to so many people, and then just to see like how hard you guys worked to, like, and so many things like stood in you guys' way that should just made this movie not happen, and you guys kept with it. Like, nobody stopped, and like, honestly, all of us fans, we have nothing but like thanks, like, for you, George, like McCrory, like all these guys that basically just made this happen for us.
And it's, you know, there's also, like, you know, Star Wars, things happen, and it's almost like the Force. which is destiny, comes in. Look how many times it happened to me. I couldn't find a lightsaber. I searched. I couldn't find anything I thought would justify it. And then one day, and that's why I thought, again, people hear that, oh, I went to a photography shop, but here's the manager of Brunnings who pointed me to the boxes and describes the story. And then I couldn't travel. So David Whiteley, who made another amazing documentary, The Galaxy Britain Built, which I helped him on, he was there. So he went and interviewed him for me, and I gave him the questions. And at the end, I was saying, well, who's got a dog? Oh, yeah, I got one. I got one here. He's deaf and blind. She's 16, this poor thing, staring at me. Anyway, so this last question was, well, because I've had a few anal fans who've all condemned me for saying there was only one lightsaber, that you didn't make 3, you didn't make this many, and all these things go on. So I thought I'll answer that by David French, who knows. And that's why I said, well, what happened after the first 3? And then he said he got the call from Frank Bruton saying, do you have any more? And he said, well, how many did you want? And put it in perspective, David French rented out Graflex cameras to movies, and they're the press cameras. So he had he probably had 100 of them. So then they asked him, well, how? He said, well, I can give you another 30. So the 33 Graflex handles went to our studios. And then this answer was, how much did you get paid? And he got £850 for 33 handles, which when you put it in perspective now, knowing how hard it is to get one of these things. And also David, I didn't say this in the documentary, but afterwards he said, you completely ruined my business. I can't replace my stock. So
yeah, I honestly wanted to make a lightsaber out of a Graflex someday, and I've looked online, and
luck.
it's impossible to find one. Yeah.
I got 2 here that I kept from the originals, but but they're worth more money. So,
yeah,
they're 2 that I kept because I love them. I just thought this is such a beautiful object, and that's partly why it kind of connected me that this would look right for a lightsaber. And but these are people who have a small role in Star Wars getting made, because that, again, destiny struck that day. I mean, I was getting pretty desperate, I have to say, because it was getting nearer to the point where everything had to go out to Tunisia, and this was well into February, I think, in 2006, 1976, and it was only luck that I wanted the binoculars that and again, the process of me with my buyer, I don't get me broken cameras, get me broken washing machine, get me broken calculators. There was no computers in those days, and I had an office filled with junk. And I found the 3 bits of different cameras, stuck them together, and thought, that's pretty cool. That would be a binoculars. And to make it look better for an audience to understand, I stuck 2 camera lenses, and it was just, I thought, well, I'll go to David's, because we buy everything from his shop, or we rented his stuff, and I knew I could get a couple of very cheap lenses from him. And it was that process, when I asked him, that led to the lightsaber. And you've seen in the documentary, and I mean, I think the most hand of God that came down was when the phone call from the floor. I was with John Barry showing him some plumbing pieces, because he was doing some stuff with one of the sets and he wanted some plumbing. He said, can you bring me some? And he said, oh, George wants a communicator. And it wasn't on the schedule until later. And as I said it, I was unscrewing literally as he was telling me, and that little thing dropped, the filter dropped in my hand, and I went, "Oh, there's one," and stuck one thing on it in my office and went down. George smiled, took it, and it went straight into the hands of a stormtrooper.
That's awesome. That's crazy.
So I think it's, that it's part of my own way of doing things, and right from young I realized that that's the way I wanted science fiction to be, and I knew how to make it work. So I had a kind of engineering, practically working brain alongside the art stuff, but I love science fiction and I love these kind of worlds. So I think, there are moments in time that George got to make the movie and got a bit of money to make it, and I got chosen because I happened to be in Mexico with John Barry at the time. These are all they're all the same as when you look at the film, like when you look at the moments from the very beginning that connect to Luke Skywalker and connect all the way through and go into, they're the same links that I went through. That's what I thought was interesting, and to put it into a documentary. And I had a huge help. John Rinsler, bless him, who was the editor at Lucasfilm on the ranch in Skywalker for 12 years, became a very, very dear friend of mine. And he edited the book for me. He edited all my rambling pages down into a 300-page book. And I would send him, scenes from the film and the structures and everything. And he'd always come back with such wonderful, simple advice. So, and I managed to, he was dying of cancer, and I managed to get him interviewed. I was desperate to have him in there. And you can see he doesn't look well, but at least his voice is there. And I dedicated the documentary to him afterwards because he was a profound help to me. But
yeah, I'm really glad you were able to get to have him on there too. That was really awesome that we got to hear from him and everything.
Yeah, because all the fans know him. I mean, he was just a wonderful, simple human being, and would write his novel on the bus, going backwards and forwards. He just took a bus back from where he lived to the ranch, and he lived further north in Marin County. Take the bus for an hour every day and work on the bus. A very simple man, and but just a wonderful writer. And all of those making of Star Wars books are really the Bibles for me for how everything was done. It was just when you did the first one, there was no record of anything that I'd done in the archives, and it was David West Reynolds took over. He became the editor, and all of this was down to David. Really, one day when I was at the ranch, when we were doing Phantom Menace, they had the July picnic at the ranch, and I was there at the ranch. I remember that I was having a chat because there was George and Coppola, and we were all talking about old days and stuff. And then David, this young kid, then came running down and said, "You're Roger Christian, I got to ask you questions because I can't find any interviews. Your name's not, I've looked for where did this lightsaber come from?" And he barraged me with questions, and then we became friends. And so I was lucky in that he had gone on his own money as an archaeologist and a Star Wars nerd, thinking all these locations, they should be like archaeology, where people should go and find and look for them. So he did that little documentary on his own money in the 90s, and he went back with a little camera crew and filmed everything. So I was able to get because I couldn't go, obviously, and it was a bit dangerous there then as well, because the Tozur set where we were was only a few kilometers from the Algerian border. I went to the border and there was nothing there. There was a ditch and a bit of barbed wire. There was nothing. I mean, I didn't dare, but I could have walked into Algeria. And so a lot of the terrorists came through Tunisia that way, the ISIS. So I couldn't go at that time. It was too difficult. But at least then I got all of that footage and everything, and David's search, and he's very animated the way he speaks and everything. I just thought, right, you're going to be the kind of main interview for me. And I think those things, it's again, that's part of it. Tunisia. I mean, look, it was. We went because John Barry knew it looked like what Ralph McQuarrie had painted as Tatooine, and he didn't have to build anything. We only had to add a few domes and stuff, but the rest were built, props and vehicles and everything. So, and it was very cheap at that point, so it fitted a budget, but it transformed the movie into, I don't think anyone had seen kind of science fiction that way before, where you used an ancient world and made it look like a science fiction world.
Yeah, like a science fiction, like tribal element almost. Like you never really saw that. You just saw kind of the spaceships and the sleek outer space stuff. You didn't really see it at like a planet level.
Yeah. It was also, well, I could never, even Flash Gordon, I couldn't watch it. It's all like shiny and new and space guns that were terrible. I mean, everything, nothing, to me, nothing was real.
Right.
So that was the determination for George, because George kept telling me, I'm making a documentary, I'm not making a science fiction film. And that was the mantra for us.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's honestly the most fascinating thing too. Like I've watched Star Wars so many times before I ever actually knew the stories behind it. And like to find out that literally everything I'm looking at is like reused junk. Like, and it looks like it was supposed to be there. It doesn't look like a prop. It doesn't look like it looks like it's from outer space. It looks like that's a lightsaber. That's binoculars. That's what a spaceship interior would look like. Like, it looks like it all should be there.
Yeah, that was, I had, luckily, I don't know why, but I'd been on a submarine. That's how I remembered it. And it was I think there's a Russian one, and there's one I think in America at Long Beach somewhere.
Yeah.
And when you go on, it's shocking. It's like this thing has wheels that turn and dripping and full of pipes, and you think, wow, this thing. But it became my kind of mantra. That's how it would be. These guys going up to space in the early days, they were crammed in these things with everywhere with switches, and there's no time, money, or excuse to do anything like a leather armchair or like a nice bridge like in Star Trek.
No comfort.
No, everything has to be, and John and I took that mantra with everything. Like I found in the aircraft scrap yards, because there were jetliners there, that they were metal aluminium that they used to heat the food for the passengers in. I bought so many of those that they were junk. I mean, no one wanted them. I could buy 20 for a couple of pounds. They're all over Star Wars if you look, especially in Luke's homestead. But we kind of reasoned out, John and I, a planet like that, everything would be modular, everything would be shipped out. So every bit of weight would be, nothing could be not made to work and economically. So, I mean, even the design of the Aunt Beru's kitchen, he exactly copied an airliner shape, if you watch it, because that again would be probably shipped up there, and that's how that would have had the strength and be easy to do. It was, I think that's why, in terms of like a designer, set decorator, if we do our work well, no one notices it. That's the big thing, We're not there like before that, and even the early James Bond, you're going, wow, look at this set, wow, look at the designer, what he did. That was the opposite reasoning I wanted for Star Wars. We didn't want anything to stand out. And so in the end, no one thinks anyone did it. So John and I kind of got left out of the whole thing because everyone thought, well, it's real. You know? That's what happens. So and it was just luck at the time. I mean, honestly, can you imagine now? There were Rolls-Royce Derwent engines just rotting in the rain. No one wanted it. All those airplanes, they were mountains of scrap. They would break them up and leave them. And planes were very lightweight metals, so there was no scrap value to it. They wanted steel or iron. So it was lucky for me because there was nowhere to go. After Alien, they realized, oh my God, there's money here. So then now there was it was cheaper. When on Phantom Menace, Rick McCullum told me it was cheaper for them to get a transport plane and buy scrap from the scrap yards, from the aircraft scrap yards in Texas, and fly it to London, than rent it from houses where they just were renting the stuff now for movies.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, I mean, and there was just so many things that just like I like the part where it was from his like 90s documentary, and he was showing like the paintings inside of like the homes, and they're like, oh, well, who did that? And he's like, those were just there. Like,
Yeah, that was
just
a
happen to have these
revelation.
really cool paintings.
That was actually even a revelation to David West Reynolds, because he was talking about that, saying, oh, look what they did and how they painted this. And I said, no, that was there. We loved it. So we just left it. That was an ancient kind of, those are the things that I think George had certainly an aptitude to understand it. And so I did, and John Barry did. That then, other designers would go and said, no, that's not how I want it. I want it all painted and I want it done like this. But when you see stuff that's so interesting, and John Barry said that once, he said, there is, you look at whatever it was for the lightsaber, when you look at it, it's a very interestingly made for a purpose and it's got a reason to it, but you're not quite sure what it is, but that gives it that weight. And I think that's true of all of that. That's, again, we could have easily just said, no, the roof shouldn't be like that. We want it like this. That's because we're saying that's how it should be done. But no, when you see something interesting, you adapt to it. Same as the domes on the top. All those were there. They were just part of the ancient architecture. And John made just a few more to add on, just to give it... It just created that little edge of being a science fiction world.
Yeah, I honestly can't think of a structure in a desert planet without it being a dome. Like, that's just the way it looks in my head. Like,
it's true. I think I told the story in there where David West Reynolds, when he went back and it was all gone, but he found the dome that we'd put on top of the cantina. It was upside down. It was a trough for water for the goats to drink out of.
mm-hmm.
So, again, that's recycling, really, isn't it, in its purest form?
Yeah. Yeah, you guys recycled all that stuff, and then the people like that lived there, they went on to recycle it too. Like, it just had its own little circle of life.
Well, the cantina door was holding the chickens in.
Mm-hmm.
It was a door to the pen. But David was determined to take that one home, and he had no money. So he had to pay $100 for it. He was really trying to bargain, and he said, well, in the end, I had to do it. And then he couldn't get it on the plane, so you had to have it sawn in half.
Jeez.
Got it back in two pieces. His father restored it for him, and that's now with Steve Sansweet in Rancho Obi-Wan.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
that's...
it's all in the same kind of vein, Sorry about coughing. We've had terrible flu going around here.
No need to apologize for that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just insane when you just kind of think about it. Like it's and he was like just walking around like, and then these people are just living like their normal lives, unaware that like they're literally surrounded by like pieces of pop culture history just around them.
Yeah,
It-
no, they're just farmers, you know, and
yeah,
really had no awareness of what. When you know, I was determined with the outside of the cantina to because George kept talking about it was a spaghetti western, to make it like my version of a hitching post, and to get all those. So the the dewback that we had that was embarrassing, it only wobbled its head. It wouldn't do any more. There's no time or money to do it. John Barry was so embarrassed by it, but I got it brought back, and there was only a few of us, and the owner of that building kept coming out and had no idea what we were doing, but he would come and look. And then that day that thing came, we put it up outside. He came out of the house, screamed, ran in, got a huge club, came out and was whacking the animal. And the head wobbled when he was hitting it because it was on that string. So that made it worse. He thought it was real, and dust was coming out of it. He wouldn't stop hitting it. We were hiding with laughter, actually. He never fully accepted that it wasn't an animal. Every time he came out of his house, he had the club with him, and he was giving this thing a wary eye, just waiting that it was going to spring at him. So, you know, they were primitive farmers at those times, and there was very little culture of tourism or anything there in those places. So, yeah, it was fun times.
one of the few people with an actual bantha attack story.
Yes, no, for real. Yeah, absolutely. Now he's probably selling tickets outside outside his house.
They've got their own cryptid lore now over there.
Yeah, yeah. It's one of those things. I don't know. They're trying to get me to go back on the Galaxy tours next April, so we'll see. And go round.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. I'd always wanted to go round. I'd planned it when we originally started doing the documentary, but it was too dangerous to go then, and we didn't have the funding. I was funded by Lucasfilm to make a documentary on that we had a huge exhibition in London, in County Hall, and I made the whole documentary for them on setting it up and everything. And I said, why don't I go back and then we'll do that as part of the documentary? But there wasn't the funds to do it then. And then it got way too dangerous, because I thought it would be interesting to go around those actual sets and sites and talk about it. So I'll see. This would be pretty packed if it's 33 fans going on the tour.
Yeah.
I'll see if I go, and then it would be afterwards I'd go back round again, I think. Be interesting to see.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'd love to have gone with Les Dilly, who was the art director, who was the practical art director, but he's just passed away, Les, a few weeks ago. So there's only me. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, you're basically like our keeper, kind of like of all this stuff. Like,
Yes.
like there's so many things. Like, I thought I knew so much about Star Wars, and then reading the book, interviewing you, like, I really don't know anything.
There's a lot of stories, but I mean, that's what I found, you know, the publishers, when they did the book, they never published that. They did no publicity in America. When I go now, I'm going back again to Dalton next weekend, and I take copies of the books, and everyone's saying, oh, we didn't know this was out.
I didn't know it was out.
No, so I'm
I would have had it a long time ago.
Well, I'm trying now to build it up. That's why I'm doing these inventions and events and whatever I can do now. And I'm able to take a few of the copies of the doc. So I'm going to kind of build it now into to get it all put together properly onto YouTube and do a whole range of it, because I think it's important now, as you guys say, you know, nobody knows, and so and it's wonderful stuff, you know. It's a lesson in, I don't know, resilience, if you like, determination, resilience, everything that applies to everybody, and especially for George. I mean, you know, he was at the heart of this whole thing, and the tension, as you know, he put him in hospital, and they thought he was having a heart attack.
Yeah.
It was sheer stress that just blocked up his heart, poor man. But he got it done. You know, hats off to him, and I think he's given the world something to believe in. That's why I believe in it, and I will continue to always. I have, you know, I think the messaging is what the world needs more and more. So I love doing it. I love, you know, I've met so many fans, I get so many stories, I meet so many families who come, and it's given families a chance to be together, and they have a communication together. This is what George intended. That was his very idea of this whole saga. So I think I'm happy now to see that it's going to the 4th generation, and it'll go on to the 5th and 6th and 7th.
Well, we'll make sure of that.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. And like you were saying, it's really a tie-in to the story of Star Wars in a way. Is like the way that you guys fought and persevered through all these obstacles. It's really, you know, connects with the rebels, you know, the rebellion. I mean, they just fought and persevered because it's like a ragtag group of just pilots and aliens and stuff, and they are able to overcome an entire empire. It's really a story that can be inspirational, not in just sci-fi and movies, but just like for people living in, you know, situations that are tough. You know, you just got to keep going.
I agree, and I mean that's why I support it so much, and why I'm going to keep doing this and try to get it into a much bigger arena if I can eventually. It's lucky now that I've joined forces with Nia and Star Wars Theory, because I think the lightsaber was the way to do it, because apparently it's the most famous prop in the history of cinema. So you saw where it came from. So that has given the impetus now. So, you know, we did that first one. I've got another one coming out very shortly.
Can't wait for that one.
Can't wait.
And it's a
click.
Well, you know, I will tell the story when it's about to. I think we're about to get the actual one in my hands very shortly. It takes so long to build these things, but you know, Darth Vader's worked because there was no money to make anything on that first one, and that one kind of worked with that black engine. That was okay. It just fell apart to me when I was directing Second Unit on Return of the Jedi, and I noticed then that Darth Vader was wielding Obi-Wan Kenobi's lightsaber, and I questioned it. And that story came out that they'd lost his lightsabers from Empire Strikes Back. So the set decorator, he was a friend of mine, but he should never be doing science fiction. He should be doing period films. It was so lazy. He just said, oh, this one would do that. And they changed one little bit on it. That's not the way I would thought. And I would have immediately had the story. And then I went back like I did on the first one, the kind of where did Luke's, would it come from, all of this stuff. I got all the story out, and I thought with Darth Vader, when he'd got into that whole uniform, he wouldn't have just gone, oh, here's a lightsaber. He would have gone and found a crystal, and he would have gone and created his own. So that's what I've done. I've created what I think Darth Vader should have. I think something a bit more worthy to go with that costume. And again, I was really inspired. I went back and looked at Ralph McQuarrie, because the only ever illustration of a lightsaber was Darth Vader in a corridor that Ralph had originally done, and you can't see it. You can just see the ends of it in his hand. So I kind of used the two ends as close as I could, so that I have a little historical reference to it. But that's what this will be, and it'll be. I think we're calling it the Father, because I don't know if you know Vader.
Ooh.
Vader is German for father, and in Hindi it means father. So we're calling it the Father. So that's coming,
sick.
and so that one, it's been a lot of work, but it's what I would have wanted, and all the fans are saying, well, that's what we would have wanted all along. So
Yeah.
we'll
It's-
see.
It's interesting to me too, just the tie into the German thing. You know, my opa was from Germany,
Yeah.
and so us growing up, we were always playing with these lightsabers, and he would just be like, what are you doing? Like, what is this? And we showed him one of the movies, and they kept saying Vader, Vader, and he was like, do they mean Vata? Like,
Yeah, Vata.
father? And I was
Yeah.
like, no, it's Vader, and he's like, no, it's father.
Yeah. Well, it's
And
the
then-
right name, isn't it?
And then when you know that scene where Vader goes, Luke, I'm your father, he goes, see,
Yeah, yeah.
I told you.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's also in Hindi,
Mhm.
the Father as well. And there's some correlations between Hindi symbols and German symbols from the Nazi times.
A couple of them, yep.
Yeah, there's a lot of correlation and stuff.
Mhm.
It's interesting. So I like all of that. I like those things in history that all come together. There's a reasoning behind everything, you know. And I'm designing a third one to go out for Christmas. So then, if that generates some income, then I'm going to build it into a whole kind of cinema alchemist, that we get everything Star Wars going into one place and get like it'll be like the Forge, you know, where everything is forged.
I'm just hearing Roger trying to take all my money.
That's it. Take
Take
over
all
the
my
wall.
money.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
love
that
Nia,
sounds
but-
incredible.
Yeah, Nia's great. He and I partnered on it, and you know he does the same. I mean, everything he does, he puts in. Now we've got the new Vader film coming, in part 2.
It's gonna be great.
Yeah,
already
I've liked the
invested.
trailer so far.
Yeah, well, he's already invested over $1 million in that, so everything goes back
Mhm.
in, and that's what we're planning on doing.
It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah,
Go for it.
I definitely respect the fact that he's not going to make any money off this, and he's still going to make it. Like I definitely respect that. Like, because definitely a labor of love.
Well, he knows everything about Star Wars, everything, and he's
Literally.
you know, he's the voice of Star Wars because he was not afraid to say what he really thought about some of the newer stuff, and he's got the heart in the right place, you know, and he's always stuck to that, and I like that. He's a man of principle, and it was interesting with Andor because he didn't even want to review it. He saw the first episode and said, "Oh, that's it." I had the same reaction. I watched the first one and thought, "What is this? What happened? Not again!" And
Yeah.
2 and 3, and then I messaged him and I said, "Listen, start at number 8. I want you to watch this. It's important that you do because you will see something that has revived the spirit of Star Wars. It's come back." And
Yeah.
and I said, "Watch this Deirdre, the blonde, because anybody else would have said, oh, okay, yeah, well, Rogue One, we need to get the Death Star plans. I know, we'll have a raid and then they find it." No, the way that was deeply buried into the plot from her fucking up through hubris. Sorry, I shouldn't say that. But
You're fine.
You're fine. We're with it.
but
I exist here, so you're fine.
oh, so you can bleep it out. So that the way that was all embedded in as part of it, I just thought it was so well done. And then he's given it a fantastic review.
Yeah, maybe I'll come around on it, but for me, I mean, I haven't even finished season 2. I just couldn't.
It's
you know.
it's slow.
Start at 8.
It's very
Start at
slow, but once
Start at 8.
Okay.
'Cause the
Those final
revolution-
few episodes,
the
so good.
revolution comes in 8. Just start there.
That's
Yeah.
and see, that's my gripe on the show. It's like we've got a season and 8 episodes, and then it becomes something. You know, like for me, it's like it never gave me that Star Wars feel.
No, that was it. And I understand what they were trying to do, but
Mhm.
whoever directed the first one, having Andor look so stupid when he was crashing that ship around, but I
Yeah.
understand the philosophy of it, that was a new version of that. He didn't know how
Prototype.
to do it,
Yeah.
but there would have been a different way to have done it, I think. And it just looked. And so you set off with your main character, who is so cool in the first series, and you want to be as cool and independent and silent and bruised and damaged as he is. To see him doing that, I think, put us on the wrong track. And there was another. I just didn't understand this jungle scene that.
Yeah.
I understand the reason for it, that you show it's a fractured going on all over the place, but again, it was either not well directed in a way, or from whatever script was, it didn't kind of gel, and it did put me off, I have to say.
Yeah.
But I waited, and then I realized as it got into 6 and 7, I realized this was picking up speed, and then 8, and that's what he did, Nia. Watch from 8 on, and from 8 on, you're just sucked. You just want to not stop watching it. And I think it's done a huge service to bring it back into kind of George's vision of how all of this should be structured and done, and the behind it, all of the deeply rooted reasons of things happening and characters and stuff, and everything's on edge all the time, and I really like that, and you know, that's Star Wars in a way. So just go to 8 and go on from 8, because it's really interesting.
Roger's about to convert me on Andor. You're hearing it live first.
Wrath. I mean, I was in the same boat as you. And I mean, I personally don't like episodes 8 or 9, but like the last 3 episodes really wrote me in. And like I've said it multiple times. Like I really like the last few episodes of Andor season 2.
Yeah,
But
no,
I'm in the same boat as you, Wrath, where it's like, okay, we had the first season and then most of season 2 not really hitting for me, and then like the last bit, it's just I see where they were going, but I guess I'm just not into the real major political aspect of Star Wars. I guess I just like my family issues and laser swords.
right.
Yeah, for me it was just kind of like I would get into it for a minute, and then it's just like whatever they were trying to do, it would just take me out of it. I'm like, all right, I don't care anymore, you know.
Yeah, there was a lot of character setting up, but the reason I liked 8 is because it was a slow build up through that the revolution, and it really showed you contemporary, how it goes on now, how things are twisted from, you know, the belief of revolutionaries, and how they're so fooled by these huge nasty conglomerates who are controlling everything. It's very good. Anyway, that's something else.
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, like, I think it really, it did a good job at kind of conveying that feeling of like hopelessness. Like, like especially from like Mon Mothma, where she just was surrounded by all these like terrible things, and she's like, I can't say anything or I'll probably die. So she's a lot of things like that. I really liked how they touched in on that.
Yeah, it's like modern politics, you know, you see it all the time now. People are so afraid to say anything, and they also know that they have to keep going because there is another way. So it was very interesting, her character, that she's at the heart of it all, and how it all came about with her. It's interesting.
Yeah, I always found that funny. Like I told people, it's like they call it Andor, but honestly, Cassian Andor is like one of the least interesting characters in the show. Like Luthen, and like Mon Mothma are really the two best characters in that show. And
Yeah. Yeah. But it very much, these last episodes had the feel of Star Wars,
yeah,
I think. And it's not Star Wars
probably one of the best
necessarily.
things
There's
they've
no
done in a long
lightsaber,
time.
there's nothing. Yeah, but it's got the same depth that George put into it of character. And it was fun to watch.
Yeah, you get those vibes. Like you get the start. Like you don't have them in all of Andor, but like definitely that last run at the end there. Like
Yeah.
it's very much Star Wars. Like you feel it.
Yeah. And you're on edge, watching the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's again, it's like everything is a knife edge if it's going to work or not. And that's how life is. I mean, I had the same, honestly. I mean, I was crossing my fingers making the Millennium Falcon hold and everything. I had the same feeling on it. I didn't know if it was going to work. I said these things up front to George. Oh, I think if I got scrap airplanes, I could make the sets out of it. Well, it's another fact when I actually had to go out and buy scrap and then pull it like prop men to break it down and stick it to make it look right and everything. And it looked like shit, honestly, when we were doing it. And I was praying people wouldn't come on to the set. And the fellow art departments who, Les Dilly knew me, but the rest of them were all in their suits and ties, and that's not how we do things. We draw it properly on the drawing board, and it all goes through the workshops and everything. And there's this long-haired kid from art school coming in and telling us how to make spaceships and everything. And then the day that we finished, and I could see people gobsmacked when they came on, and their eyes were wide open, like, wow, this is a spaceship. And it's real. So, it was a toss of a coin for me. It was a bit of a knife edge.
It's honestly one of the most iconic like sets in all cinema. Like, I mean, it's kind of like the whole like deal with the Galaxy Edge ride. Like people talk about one of the best parts of that ride is walking onto the Millennium Falcon and looking around and being around the Millennium Falcon. Like, just taking all that in, like
it's really like it's a mechanical version of Han Solo. It's like a ship that's got a heart in it somewhere beating, and it's all pulled together and it's rough and tumble, but in the end it comes through,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, honestly, the Millennium Falcon is another character in that movie. Like, in addition to like the cast, like, and in all the movies, really, like, there's almost a like personal element to the Millennium Falcon that just no other ship in Star Wars seems to have. Like,
well, I mean,
it's almost like sentient.
When they first introduce it, they're like, the Millennium Falcon. You've never heard of the Millennium Falcon? No, should I have? Yes, you should have.
Yes.
Well, it's true. And when you think of it, it was another complete accident, because that Joe Johnson, when George went to London with us, Joe Johnson was, again, he was a beach bum who was a surfer, needed a job. He ran out of money and saw a job advertised and took the job. And it just so happens they found he could draw and he could do other stuff, and he became what he was. So he made Ralph McQuarrie's design as a model. And George had to fly back and look at the models. And then he'd seen Space 1999, which was the puppet show that we had in England that was a forerunner to a lot of this. And in fact, that was the first job I ever tried to get. I went to meet the art director on that, and he was finishing the series, so they weren't taking anybody on. But I went round the sets and all the models. It was amazing. And George said, but that's the Eagle. And we can't use that. They'll think it's Space 99 ship. And, so I believe the one that was George said that he just had a burger on the way home on the plane and said, "Why don't you make it like a hamburger?" and the reason of that cockpit on the side is because that is the Eagle's cockpit that looked like the Eagle, and he really liked it, Joe Johnson, so he just said, "Oh, well, I'll stick it on the side." And so out of, again, kind of not saying, "Well, come on, George, I've made the whole model now, or I don't think we should do it again," or, grumbling, he just said, "Oh, okay," and he built the Millennium Falcon round like a hamburger and stuck that piece on and created an icon. I love that.
Yes.
I like, this is Star Wars, really, and that's what I'm trying to bring out with this documentary and the book, that this is the history, really. This is the legacy that it all came from. The group of kind of, I mean, look at, you read the stories about ILM boys in Los Angeles and the hot tubs on the roof and the way they were doing stuff. But
Yeah,
I think that was so different to the. It happened actually on 2001. Doug Trumbull came and did a lecture, and I'd met him, I knew him. And when he came, on 2001, they were all the British special effects guys who'd done it all their lives, and he was a 24-year-old kid, went over from America to London to the MGM studios. And they were all fixated, "Oh no, to Stanley, it can't be done. We have to do this and do that." And he would come in with a pencil sketch and say, "Why don't we do this?" And they'd all laugh at him. And Kubrick say, "Well, let's do it." And in the end, he ended up doing it all. And I think that's the 60s revolution, if you like, that came through us, that gave us a new way of thinking, that we were brave enough to go and do it. I think that played a huge role in this timing of how Star Wars came about.
Yeah, absolutely. Like it just seems like the whole like idea that you guys had, just with this approaching all of this with science fiction differently, it basically brought science fiction back. Like I feel like it would have been on its way out as far as like a movie medium if it just would have kept going the way it was going, and it just kind of just injected all this life into it.
Well, there was no box office. I mean, that in the end, it was dead. That's why that's why the estimated Star Wars would make $12 million if they were lucky.
Yeah,
it was dead.
It blew off.
It just so it again, George and we found this out later on. There was no time on the first movie, but I hero worshipped Kurosawa. He was my mentor. And of course, I loved Sergio Leone. His, low budget westerns made in Spain with Clint Eastwood, to me, were more real than these huge, massive stagecoach movies. So that, as soon as George said, "I'm trying to make a spaghetti western in space," he didn't have to say any more to me. I understood the language,
Yeah, like, and who would have thought, like, that combination just, like, I mean, and it's like how you said about like the Mandalorian too, like how it still kind of captures that same vibe of the spaghetti western in space, like type. Works perfectly.
Yeah, that again, because George instilled that into Dave Filoni, and how Kurosawa, everything came from there. Kurosawa and Sergio Leone and those, that he instilled all that into Dave Filoni, who understood it. That's the difference. It wasn't just like token appreciation. It was a deep understanding of how these worlds work. So he was able to bring it all back to the Mandalorian. And it reminded me of that.
Yeah, like it's I think it's usually any time like Star Wars seems to pick something that is within that like grimy, like dirty, like type of space world. It's usually some of the better Star Wars stuff.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. It's interesting. I'm now going back. I told my son who's 11. I said, you know what? We're going to watch the Clone Wars all the way through again now.
Nice.
And I
It's a
just
fun
started this
watch.
week. I watched the first 3 episodes.
That was kind of what got my kid like because I was trying a bunch of different things to get my kid like to watch Star Wars with me, and it was Clone Wars is what got her going into it, and then Mandalorian.
Yeah, yeah, that's the way in. It's good. So
Mhm.
that's what I'm doing, and also it helps. Like with Andor, gives you a history because Rogue One took on a different perspective when you watch it now, knowing that history behind it. It adds so much depth to it. And there's a lot in the Clone Wars that adds depth to what comes into the Star Wars movies.
It's like Anakin's fall. Like you get so much more context than the Anakin fall into the dark side because of Clone Wars. Like they give you way more instances of him kind of tiptoeing around like the edge there.
Yes.
And yeah, it makes all the prequels like 10 million times better. Like because it just adds that extra step to them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There we are. I may have to go and feed my young one now.
I was about ready to say, I was like, I don't want to keep you too long. I know you got the kiddo at home and everything. So,
Yeah.
but we are so appreciative of you coming on and like hanging out with us for a little bit and just telling us, all your awesome Star Wars stories and everything. Like it's always a treat.
Thank you. No, it's always, anytime. I'm up for this. I live for it. So it's like part of my DNA, and I realize I have a role to play, and I got to play it now to the best of my ability. So it's a good distraction from me trying to raise money to make a movie. This is something that I think should fuel now what I'm going to do for a bit. So I'm going to build on it now.
And what's the next convention you're going to be at?
I'm at Dalton next the weekend of the 20th. So I'm going to drive down.
Anybody nearby?
Yeah, that's Dalton in Galveston. Where is it?
Georgia.
Georgia.
Yeah.
And I'm at Rebel Scum.
Oh, in Texas.
Texas.
Yeah.
That'll be fun. And then,
everybody please check him out because he will have copies of his movie there, and you need to watch this movie. It's so good.
Yeah, I'll have them. I'll have copies there. I managed to get to secrete a whole bunch of them. Correct, I'm allowed to sell them. So,
Clone Force did ask a question about the Galaxy Built on Hope. He was wondering where, like in the United States,
yes,
could he acquire a copy if it's still available, aside from like a convention with you.
Yeah, the conventions is there isn't anywhere else. We're not allowed yet until I can get certain things settled with it of where it will be. So I can do it at conventions, and if they go to the Instagram messaging, then I can find a way. Like with the books, I get a lot of people who want the books signed, so I do it through PayPal, and they pay for the postage and the book, and I do it like that. So there is a way to do it. I just got to keep it that way for a bit. It's kind of under the radar, if you like, but it's the revolutionary way. It's continuing the same pattern of how we made Star Wars.
It's totally worth it because, like, ever since we've gotten to know you, Roger, like we literally promote Galaxy Built on Hope and Cinema Alchemist like any chance we get.
Thank you.
It's just amazing. And it needs to be on Disney Plus. I don't understand why.
It'll end up there eventually. Somebody once it give it a bit of a time.
Yeah, it's a wonderful way to just look, just an extra way to look at something that we love so much. And I mean, any of this behind the scenes stuff with Star Wars, just to hear these stories of just, because like I said, when the first time, many times I watched these movies, never knew this was just stuff that was considered trash that was just turned into these amazing like props and like sets. Like it gives you so much like stories just about all of these different things. So if you are any con that he is at, absolutely get this movie, get his book.
Yes.
Just definitely.
And I'll get it out one day.
Well,
On a streamer.
but yeah, like I said, it is an honor as always to have you on. We always appreciate it, and we hope to have you on again. Maybe when you get closer to the Theory Saber coming out, we'd love to
Yes.
talk to you about it.
Sure,
Yeah.
absolutely.
But,
Yeah.
but yeah, and as for everybody else, we'll be back on. Hey, Muff, we're just signing off, and we'll be back on next Friday, every Friday at 9. So, yeah, but.
Yeah.
Anybody else
I'm
got
sorry to
anything?
be so late. That was an emergency.
Oh, no.
Oh, you're
I
fine.
got stuck on. I'm normally on
Better
time
late
on
than never.
everything,
We're
but
glad to have you on.
Good. I'm glad. No, it's great to see you all again, guys.
Absolutely.
All right.
All right. Well, may the force be with you guys, and
And you.
have a
and
great
everybody
weekend.
watching. Yeah.
Take care, guys.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.